Hello and welcome. In this video, I will demonstrate how to perform blue-green deployment or a Canary deployment using Gateway API. You can use any Kubernetes deployment with Gateway API. In this example, I'll be using AKS Auto and Envoy Gateway. All the configuration files discussed in this video are available at my blog site as well as on my GitHub repo. Check the comment section for the links. I have already installed my AKS cluster. I have also installed Envoy Gateway for my Gateway API implementation. I created a gateway called External Gateway, and it has a load balancer assigned already. I have gone ahead and installed the first version of my application, that is my app v1, and created a HTTP route for the application. So as you can see, my application will be listening on this URL, bluegreen.vetam.online. Let's have a look at the application. Here we are on the page, and so this is the first deployment, version 1 Blue deployment. So this is the current configuration and where I have v1 installed, and this is my HTTP route where I'm using the hostname bluegreen.vetam.online and the gateway, external gateway, which I have configured already. And there is a single backend, that is my app v1 bluegreen. So it's sending all of the traffic to the v1 deployment. So let's say you want to deploy a new version. So I will go ahead and deploy 2.0 version of my application. So I'm going to install it. As you can see, my version 2 deployment is completed. Now I have two versions of the applications running, but the traffic is still routing to v1. Let's take a scenario. I want to do a Canary deployment. I want 80% of the traffic to be routed to the v1 and 20% of the traffic to be routed to the v2. Here is my HTTP route configuration. As you can see, I have single backend configured, and that is configured to send all the traffic to v1. I will change this to 80, and I will add another route for the v2 deployment and send 20% of the traffic. So before we apply it, let's go and check the URL. If I refresh, I keep getting the same page because we only have one route active. So I will go ahead and apply the new route and come back and check the URL. I will refresh. So you got a second deployment. And if you keep refreshing, you will see around 80% of the requests will be going to the v1 and 20% will be to the v2. So you get a Canary deployment here. So once you're happy with the deployment, and let's say you're happy for the v2 to go live, you need to switch the traffic across to the v2 version. So here you will go and update your configuration. Let's say v1 receives 0 traffic and v2 receive 100% of the traffic. This is where you're doing a blue-green deployment, and you're switching all the traffic to the v2 deployment. I will go ahead and apply it. And let's go and check the URL. I'm refreshing the screen, and as you can see, only the traffic is routed to v2 version only. Let us look at another scenario. You have a new version of the software, that is version 3. I will go ahead and install it. And you want this version to be available to only very select number of people. It could be select number of users, or it could be select number of people that you want to allow the access to. In Gateway API, filter the traffic based on a header. Here I have an example. I am configuring another backend, and the backend is for v3 and weight is 1 because this is totally different backend reference. And in this one, I'm putting a matches for the header. If the request contains a header traffic equal to test, then it will always serve the v3 version of the application. So when there is a matching header, it will ignore this backend reference, only implement the backend reference that matches the header. So let's go ahead and apply this configuration. I have applied, and I'm going back to my URL and refreshing it. As you can see, I'm not getting the version 3 at all. It's always version 2. That is because I'm not passing any header. So here I have mode header, and I'm going to pass a header traffic equal to test. So I'm passing a header now. So as soon as I pass the header, you can see I'm receiving the v3 version. If you look at the header in the network, I'll refresh, and if I look at the headers, you will see I'm passing the traffic equal to test. So let's turn off this header and refresh the screen, and it goes back to the normal traffic. Thank you, and I hope you find this video useful.